All right, all right. We are back. Let's go. It is your boy D Hall and your other boy, Mr. Chris Smitty Smith, is on the call with us. Kaz had a scheduling conflict, so what better man to bring in than my dude, Smitty? How are you, sir?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm pumped up. First edition of Near Falls in the WPIAL. Can't be more excited. We got two great guests coming on. We have Darius McMillan, who won the 152-pound championship over at Chartiers Houston.
Tough weight
So,
bracket too.
yeah, man, really tough weight bracket. Beat some really nice kids along the way in classic Darius fashion. Won a couple nice 1-0 matches. So excited to talk to him about his, training, football season. I mean, they had a great run as well in football. So excited to talk about all that. And on the other side, the coaching side, we got Mr. Matt Levy, the head coach of the Franklin Regional Panthers. They went out and won the Trinity Duels, and we're going to dive into that a bunch. So with all that being said, man, it's going to be a great time tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's hit the intro music.
Welcome to the Near Falls WPIAL show, where DL and Kaz are gonna tell you all the things you wanna know. Whether it's Trinity or Spencer Lee or Mr. Kurt Angle, just ask Vinny D. WPIAL, Ken and Mac for sure. They got the interviews to soothe your soul, because it's Near Falls in the WPIAL.
And that song makes my heart happy because I know that it is wrestling season. That's probably the first time you've heard that. Do you like that, Smitty?
Yeah, absolutely is the first one. Yeah, it's a nice little jingle. Who did that for you? I have to ask.
And my buddy that did my Near Falls with the Hall intro, his name's Kenny Sukic. It's actually a friend of my brother-in-law's, man, and he's incredible. Like, I just give him a couple names, couple phrases, give him a couple weeks, and boom, he's got a song. So incredible like stuff. Yeah, man, it's gonna be he just does great stuff, so it leads us really good into the show, so it's gonna be a good one. But yeah, Smitty, thanks for coming on, man. And what we do here, buddy, is we kind of just bring down break down the weekend that was. There's so much action. We had schools in the WPIAL all across the state of Pennsylvania. We had some in Ohio. We had some down in West Virginia. We had some all the way out in the Lehigh Valley, man. And it's a lot to break down. And for my money, it was a great start for the WPIAL. I really enjoyed, to be honest with you, watching the PA Power. They had two different tournaments on Rockfin. So it was nice for me being tied up at work and at home. I was able to watch, pretty much all the semifinals, the quarterfinals of, the whole way out of the Chartiers Houston tournament. I was able to watch the Hickory Invitational tournament, which is up north in Hermitage, PA. That's up in District 10. And they do a great job. That's, one of those tournaments up there that you get to see some of those different competitions. And, man, we had two great showings out there. Latrobe did well, and Penn Trafford did well. So both those schools, we're going to talk about some of those results and, what that all looks like. But, it's going to be a great night. We have so much to break down. And, like I said, we have Matt Levy coming on shortly. I guess for me, let's kind of start as we kind of break through and read down this list. Smitty, I know that you had, for my money, to the top 8 to 6 teams in the WPIAL. You had Norwin and Cannon Mac last week. Talk to me about that match.
It was a great match. Norwin, it's Norwin's turn. Even with some of the young talent that they have, and some of that young talent discovered a little bit of Pennsylvania high school wrestling at its best when they were out at, I believe it's called Springfield High School this past weekend. A couple of their studs ran into some buzzsaws. But on Wednesday night, the atmosphere was awesome. It was really a great way for Norwin and Cannon Mac, as well as us at the Westmoreland Sports Network, to kick off the high school wrestling broadcast series. We had done a number of matches, but they were all college matches. So it felt good to see all of these young men and women, get into the new rules. We still have the 2-2-2, but the 3-point takedowns and near falls. And trust me, referees were throwing up points left and right. So it was a great showing. Kanamak Young, their first year head coach, helped me with his name,
Jordan Mayer.
Jordan Mayer, yes, excuse me. First year head coach. Really welcomed us into the gym and, provided us with a lot of information that we needed to have a successful broadcast. As I said, he has a lot of young talent. He also has a number of wrestlers still out of the lineup. So it may have looked like a little bit of a lopsided win, but trust me, it was a lot more competitive than the score dictated. And when it comes time for February, keep an eye out for the Big Macs, because I think they're going to be very much a part of the conversation, as I do think Norman will. It's keeping everybody healthy, and I'm sure there's some dissents happening. So
all those things, right? And with high school wrestling, there's so many variables behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, of course. And it's like, you certainly can't count out the Big Macs, but it's going to be very interesting to see how they respond with them. First time in years not making the team playoffs last year. So that was a big deal. And to see how, and Jordan, I talked to him on the preview show. He seems like he's got a nice head on his shoulders. So for sure, I think he's got, them in the right direction. And, I was talking to some people. He was a stud in his day as well. He did battles with my good buddy Jake Leninsky from West Allegheny. So yeah, I mean, Jordan's a stud, and I think he's going to be all right with that squad. But on the other side of that coin, Norwin is, they're definitely one of those teams that we're going to have to keep an eye on come the end of the year, Smitty. And that's kind of going to lead us into some more Westmoreland County teams, or another Westmoreland County team, as we talked about Matt Levy's squad over at the Trinity Doles. I mean, that performance, I'm watching, listening, watching the box scores. I had a bunch of people in the gym, obviously, with West Allegheny, with Trinity. Kiski's in there with Keebler and those boys. But man, Franklin just had a showing. And it wasn't like, North Allegheny's not down. Kiski is definitely not down. Trinity's not down. So like all these schools are going to be one of, we're going to look at these schools at the end, they're all playoff teams. I guarantee North Allegheny is going to be a playoff team. Trinity is going to be a playoff team, a D playoff team. So, I'd like to think my West Allegheny Indians are going to be somewhere in that mix at the end of the season. But man, it was a great tournament, and, something that just started a couple years ago. It's really grown into, Cathedral Prep came down, and they, I know they dropped the AA, but man, they had a hell of a team. So it was just, you look down the list of squads there for Franklin to go on and put the showing that they did is just impressive stuff. I know that you had them on the WPIAL, or not the WPIAL, the Westmoreland preview show there, Smith.
We did, and it's always great to have Coach Levy on. He's fun to talk to, and he's had so much awesome history, and he's continued the success that was, more or less, you hate to say, oh, that team was given to him. Well, that's not really how it was, because he was already in the room working with those guys every single day. And he just took the torch from Mauser and just ran with it. And he's continuing to churn out quality wrestling. And these guys are going to the next level and doing it big time at Division I and Division II programs. So, yeah, they put quite the showing on, going 3-0. There was 8 teams that were at those schools. You had Willing Park out of West Virginia, as aforementioned West A. Ligonier Valley came in and went 1 and 2. So it's nice to see Ligonier Valley stepping up their game with a dual meet tournament as competitive as the Trinity Duels. So
man. It was just good all the way down the list. I mean, you look at North Allegheny Prep was 32-33. There was just, Kiski beat West Allegheny 43-24. It was just a bunch of great matchups that we could potentially see down the line. And I think we actually have the man right now behind stage. We're going to bring him on and talk to him about his performance. Mr. Matt Levy, how are you, sir?
Hey, guys, how are you? Thanks for having me on tonight.
So pumped up to have you on. First things first, congratulations on winning the Trinity Duels. Impressive performance by your squad.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. They really wrestled well. The coaching staff had them ready to go. It's kind of funny for, being a head coach. I actually had a miss this weekend. My daughter was in California playing soccer, and so that's the thing. My daughter's at the age right now where she's got some good opportunities going on, and our AD is very supportive, our coaching staff supportive. So I had to fly out late, got in there for Saturday for a game, and unfortunately, that I missed. But when you have a coaching staff like we do, and they had the guys ready to wrestle, so I think kudos to them, kudos to our whole staff that they had the guys ready to wrestle. So I was locked in on Facebook Live and on the phone with the coaches literally as the match was on the whole time. So it's a lot of fun, but thank you. We appreciate it.
So, I mean, we've touched a little bit as we're opening up the show tonight. Me and Smitty have it. Kind of the landscape that is AAA and the WPIAL. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams, and it's last few years I feel like it's been, you can look down the list, 8 teams, maybe 8 to 7 teams that have a chance to make it this year. A bunch of teams that have a chance to make it. The parity is there. Talk to me about. You guys were obviously one of those teams that came out of the mix last year and went to the state tournament. How do you build upon that and make sure that happens again?
Our guys work hard. They're extremely hard workers. They have high goals. And I think the culture is so good in our program overall, just from that, they know it's hard work. The WPIAL wrestling, I mean, it's the best in the country. So these guys know that it's hard, and it doesn't just happen by accident, right? To even give yourself a chance to be able to get into the top 3. I like to talk to, a lot of people say, how you guys going to be? I said, I think we can be one of the 10 best teams in the WPIAL. Like, I just trying to figure out where we are because it's so competitive. I truly believe if we wrestle to our potential, we have an opportunity to win a WPIAL title, right? But I also know and respect all the other great programs out there, that how difficult it is, and these guys have bought into that and they know it. And it's something that we got to work for and try to earn to give us that opportunity. We got to stay healthy, right? And which we're not at this point. We were missing, some key guys this weekend. So I think we're only going to get better as the year goes on.
Interesting, missing some key guys and still had a great performance. That's good stuff. Talk to me. Before we dive right back into the squad, I need to touch on Mr. Thompson's performance. Oh my goodness, out in Vegas. He is man, you want to talk about a diamond in the rough for a program like Ohio. That's impressive stuff.
Absolutely. And he burst onto the scene last year, but I think more importantly, that's during that COVID year, it's so funny that how a lot of things are result and not process driven. But if you look at his senior year, I think his weight class, if I remember correctly back to it, Alejandro, Rocco Welsh, and Jared Kessler. So he finished 4th that year that they cut down to 3 teams. And I think he lost in overtime to Kessler, maybe 2 go, or very close match. So, at that point, I think they were all ranked top. It might have been 5 or 6 in the whole state, with those guys being 1, 2, 3. And so we knew that he was going to be good. He really, really kind of was always good, and then kind of started exploding towards the end of his senior year. But unfortunately, due to the COVID, he, and the guys that were at that weight, some of the best in the country, he didn't get an opportunity to go to state tournament and show. And I think he's only continued what we saw during his whole career, but more his senior year. It's unbelievable. We're so proud of Garrett.
Yeah, man. He's that performance he had. I'm just watching. I'm like, oh, knocked that dude off. Oh, he knocked that. Oh my goodness, he knocked that dude off. He's having a tournament. So yeah, man, it was impressive stuff to watch him do his thing. And just to be completely clear, if you guys aren't aware, Mr. Garrett Thompson, just former Franklin Regional Panther. Go back on Flow and watch his performance at the CKLV this past weekend. I mean, if you look at the CKLV, it's kind of like a mini NCAAs now. It's the best non Big Ten or postseason tournament. From my book, it's really good stuff, and he was just straight up just had a weekend, so it was cool stuff.
Yeah, he's dynamite. He's awesome.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Sure. So the next question I have, where do you think you fit in with this group of the WPIAL teams? I mean, you obviously, I think that a lot of people have Connellsville as probably the number 1 team in the WPIAL by a lot of people's numbers, just the deepness and where they're at. But you guys certainly are bringing a lot of kids back, and you have a lot of young studs on your team. Like you said, you're a little A little injured, but where do you think you fit in this mix?
Again, like you talked about Connellsville, they're a great team. And, I think it's going to take a great effort by anybody in the WPIAL to beat them, just because of, they're coached well. They're deep. They got a lot of guys. But that being said, we really like our team. We love our guys. They work hard. I think, if things can go together and we can continue to get better through the year goes on, I don't see any reason that we can't compete to win a WPIAL championship. And that's our goal. We won't back away. We won't shy away from that. That's what our guys are working for. That's what they believe. And as a staff, we believe in them. I think we're going to continue to get better. We're going to clean up some things. And then, again, there's multiple other teams in the WPIAL that, we have to worry about besides with Connellsville, right? We got to take care of each match that's ahead of us. We wrestle Moon tomorrow night, and I look at their lineup, and they have some guys. They're good, and so I think we're singularly focused on can we get better and can we clean up on some things, and if all that goes right and we can stay healthy, we think we can be in a position to get ourselves back to Hershey, compete to win a WPIAL title. But we also know it's it's going to be hard to even get out of our own section, let alone win it. You know what I mean? With Norwin, Penn Trafford, those guys being really good in our section, and so yeah, we're excited.
Smitty, do you have anything for my?
Yeah, Coach. Next couple weekends, you're going to be headed down south to West Virginia to some nice little tournaments that I know you have connections to. I'm assuming through, your days as a mountaineer at West Virginia University. Talk a little bit about those competitions and how it's advantageous to get out of your state every once in a while, get out of your comfort zone and go wrestle some different competition. You're not going to have to worry about at the end of the year, but they can help get you where you need to be for the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went to Point Pleasant last year down there, and Point Pleasant's been traditionally in small school West Virginia, one of the best teams in the state. If you kind of look them up and look at their history, they've won a lot. Their coach is a great coach. I was introduced to him through one of my West Virginia, university, Ken Mizell, where we'll be the following week. Kind of got us set with that last year. And I will tell you, once we got there last year, we're like, we have to go back. We, take a coach bus, go 4 hours, take our whole team. Everybody was able to get matches, and just was a fun day overall. So I think this weekend will turn into getting a lot of matches. They do a great job of getting exhibitions for the guys that don't get in the lineup. And besides that, it's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of team building, a lot of fun that I think is important. As you guys know, it's a long season, right? It's long. I think our guys are feeling it this week. We had to make weight right after Thanksgiving, Smitty, when we talked last week, we wrestled. So then we followed up with a weigh-in on Saturday. Now we got a Wednesday weigh-in, then a Saturday weigh-in, then a Wednesday, then a Saturday. So, the guys are feeling it today a little bit. So we want to find things to make this fun for them and enjoyable. They work so hard. I think this will be a great weekend with a couple really good teams that are traditionally very strong in West Virginia. And then the next weekend, University High, Ken Mizell wrestled at West Virginia. He was my student teacher whenever I taught at down in West Virginia. And they're the defending state champ in West Virginia in big schools. And you also have Connellsville will be there, Trinity will be there, and then some of the other West Virginia schools. So that'll be a very good individual tournament for our guys. This week is more about a dual meet. Go have fun, get away on a coach bus, stay overnight, and kind of build a little camaraderie as we try to get through this, make our circle tighter, our culture better, and really just try to get better. And hey, whatever the results are, we're gonna hope to put our best effort out there.
Speaking of culture and your environment, which is always great over at Franklin Regional, talk about this year's team, the attitude, the morale, that environment, that camaraderie compared to some of the best teams that have come out of Franklin Regional. What are some of those comparisons?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think this year is, every other year coming into a year, I think, and, I think I don't have the exact number, but I know it was at one time 13 out of 14 years we had a state finalist. Well, Ty Capusto was in the finals last year. So it might be 15 of the last 17, 18 years we might have had a guy in the state finals, back to the Nico Magaludis when he was there kind of running through. So I think this is our first group right now where, coming into the season, there isn't a returning state place winner, right? We have some freshmen coming up. So I think that the culture is as good as ever right now. The attitude is as good as ever because I think guys are hungry to make a jump and they believe that they're good. They believe they're good. We believe they're good, but the freshmen coming up, were really good at a young age, but they want to show that they belong right now on the big stage. And our freshmen, sophomores that are returning now, sophomore, juniors, and our seniors, they're hungry because I think that, they've seen our guys. I like to talk about Ty Kapusta, was a freshman, didn't qualify for the state tournament. Next year, he's fourth in the state. Then he's a 3-time place winner, 1-time finalist. So I think a lot of our freshmen that were last year had great wins, seeded in the top 8 in the WPIAL, won matches. We believe they can make that jump to be what Ty was, during his sophomore year. And more importantly, they believe it. So great attitudes overall. They love to work hard. They love to work. They love to work. It's a joy. They love to work, and the staff is unbelievable. I can't praise our staff enough. We like to talk about it a lot. We have Coach Florian, Tim Florian, who's our character coach, does a fabulous job. And then Greg Sill, who's been with, the whole time I've been here, is phenomenal. Gets the guys ready to wrestle, does a lot of the warm-up stuff, a lot of the technique in the room. And on top of that, he provides a lot of love to the guys. And then we have Ralph Petranka, who's been with the program forever. I think they had the Dan and Ralph Classic this weekend for another tournament. That's how long Ralph's been around, impact the program. And Steve Krempel, who was a former head coach of Plum, wrestled at Clary, and he is like unbelievable, loves wrestling, and then also he puts all these crazy stat sheets together for us. He's awesome. I love our staff. Those guys are amazing. And then, like I said, I think our team overall, they're hungry.
Coach, I got one more question before. Go ahead. I got one more question for you before I leave you go, buddy, because I got the next. I got Mr. McMillan coming on in a second. The big topic me and Smitty are going to discuss tonight is the new qualification process for AAA. Obviously it's completely different. You guys are with some of the, premium schools out in the South Central area, or in the Central area, I should say. Just give me your take on the new qualification process. I talked to you about the rule changes on the preview show, but give me your thoughts on this.
So I think the one that I think is the biggest impact, and the only thing that I think that was really hard was how late they announced it, right? So that's why we kind of changed course on our schedule, hoping that we can make this team run. There's not a week off, right? You make that run to the state tournament on the third day. You come out of our WPIAL team tournament that is a grind. Then you go into that Thursday, Friday, Saturday weighing if you make it. Now you come back to the last day. And listen, all of the WPIAL sections are really tough, but we feel that with us, with Connellsville, us, Norwin, Latrobe in there, and many other teams, I don't want to that is turning around the next week. One for the kids' sake, but for myself, we put a lot of preparation into trying to train our kids to peak them. And it doesn't leave you much training opportunity to do that. So that's one of the biggest things I think if you're a team that's contending, to me is a concern, honestly. And that's why I changed our schedule to give us a little bit of a break somewhere in January, that we can train a little bit, because ultimately we want our guys ready to compete for the team end of the year, be fresh, but be and then get towards the end of the year. Individually, obviously the qualifying, I think it puts us at a second week in a row of wrestling our WPIAL, which we believe is the toughest region in the state, right? That you get 7 guys out. A lot of times, how close that gap is between 1 through 7, 2 through 7, 3 through 7, whatever it is. That I think you're going to see a lot of repeat matchups. And then, of course, you added some great teams, from up north and from a little bit out east. So, it is what it is. Hey, we got another qualifier out of it. It gives guys opportunities. We'll always focus on what we can control, but it's certainly made it more challenging, I think. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
100%. Yeah. Go ahead, Smitty. We're going to dive into it for sure, but.
Bro, we Marky and I, I'm sorry, not Marky, the D Hall and I, what was that, Friday night?
Yeah.
We were coming back from Buffalo Wild Wings. We did the Seton Hill Kutztown match and went on and had some Mountain Dews and burgers with the boys, Vinny D and Marky Kaz and George. And I was talking to D Hall the whole way back home, and I knew there was a change, but I wasn't familiar with the entire change. I was looking at Upson's rankings, and I looked, and I just saw the West. I didn't see Northwest, Southwest. It said West, and I'm like, it's not like Upson to make this big of a mistake. So I'm talking to D Hall, and he's like, bro, it just went from a meat grinder to an even bigger meat grinder. And the first thing I could think of, Maddie, and I think you were maybe just a little bit too young because you were 2 years behind me, but we used to have the WPL tournament and then a regional tournament, which essentially you grinded on the same dudes 2 weeks in a row.
Yep, I remember that. It was
it was pointless is what it was. I mean, I think they brought in the City League kids or something like that the next week. So
I remember that. And I can think of a situation. I mean, we know it many times throughout this, but Ty Waters and Finn Solomon not long ago, right? They're the two best. They wrestle in the WPIAL, have an epic WPIAL final match. Then they go into the state finals. More than likely in that next week, those guys wrestle again. And that was just with them two being the best two in the state. But, you look back to, I was just talking about with the Garrett Thompson, Alejandro, Rocco Welsh, and Jared Kessler. That would have been 3 straight weeks. Some of those guys could be in the same section. So, hey, we'll take an extra qualifier. Sometimes we got to do things the hard way, right? Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sure. Sometimes it's, I mean, if we could all pick, we'd probably, but, I honestly, the team thing with us having a team that we feel is going to be competitive over the next couple of years, no guarantee that we can make it back to where we was because we know how hard it was. But any of the 3 WPIAL teams that make it back to that situation, to me, I know our guys came out of there and I mean, there was excitement, but they were tired. I mean, that's making weight in some really quality teams you're wrestling against.
Yeah.
And at least we had a week off to kind of, to kind of get ourselves, not turn around and make weight again against some of the best kids in the state the next week. So.
There's some studs coming out of that central area.
I mean,
They're talking and looking at some of those schools. And you're like, oh, good golly, Miss Molly. You're going to have some folks. They're not going to make the trip to Chocolate Town this year. And it's
a lot.
On top of beating up on ourselves for 2 weeks in a row. Now we got to throw those studs into the mix, Mountain Boys. So, it's going to make for an interesting run down the stretch here in February and March. But, hey, you know what? If that's what's going to make us the best, and that's what we need to do. And from what I gathered, that was the best possible solution of what was happening. So I guess we should just take it and run.
Absolutely. And I know, you guys got a bunch of guys on here. I just want to, listening as I was coming on here, I'll tell you, Tarquinio did an unbelievable job putting those duels together. North Allegheny, Kiski, Erie Cathedral Prep. Obviously, just to name a few, without West Allegheny, with Ligonier Valley there, you talk about just what an incredible group of tradition in those programs. So we were excited to be there, and certainly fun to dive in with some of the best teams in the WPIAL. And I'm sure everybody feels they're going to be better at the end of the year anyway. So it was a great start. But kudos to Ron Tarquinio for putting together such a high class tournament right at the beginning of the year with some great teams.
I love me some Coach T. I love me some Coach Tark. He's my man for sure. So you don't got to butter him up any more than I do on this show. That's for sure. But hey, Coach, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. And I appreciate your insight and honesty.
Hey, thank you guys. Go Panthers.
All right. Later, Coach.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right. And that was Matt Levy. Man, great stuff there, Smitty. Yeah.
Great insight, man.
And I just love the honesty that he gave us there. He's like, he's like, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was tougher, which I appreciate that. And, we're going to talk more about that, I believe. So Darius is coming on at some point here. I know he has his football banquet tonight, but he said, I'm down. I'll find a spot. I said, we're going to be on for most of the night. Just whenever you're available, send him the link. So at any time, Smitty, we might have to stop our conversation and have Mr. Darius come on. But so with that being said, let's dive right in. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Trinity duels. Obviously, Trinity won, but there were some other great results in that as well. I mean, Kiski over Trinity. Kiski, buddy, their upper weights are problems. I mean, they got really nice upper weights. And it's interesting, like each WPIAL team has their strengths. And, I'm excited to see kind of how they all morph together, at the end of the year. But, man, Kiski's upper weights, you would have to say, I mean, with the young Hutchinson, the freshman coming in. Obviously, he's top whatever you want to put in the state. But at least I think Upson had him 6. So he's top in the state. You got Mr. Oh, come on, buddy. I'm blanking on his name. The 215. Well, you got Mark Ray, of course. The 215 pounder. His brother wrestled as well.
Coop.
Yep. Roskowski. Thank you, Roskowski.
Yep. Yeah, they had.
So you got Roskowski. I mean, in their heavyweight solid. You just look at their upper weights. I mean, they're just gonna be problems. And
Abe Taylor and it's the way they're going to match up with other teams, because I take a look at a team like Norwin, and I pick on Norwin. Not I'm picking on Norwin. I'm picking Norwin because I've seen them
right
where they're the exact opposite.
Yep.
Their grind is down low.
Yep.
So it's going to flat out boil down to bonus points whenever those two teams get at it. And if we're talking about the team tournament, it's very likely that they could cross paths. So that'll make for an interesting matchup there. But you're right. They're tough up top.
And it's
some other ones.
And it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of, like everything with high school wrestling, it's how it's all, morphed to how they adjust the lineup. I believe we have Mr. Darius on right now, Smitty.
You ready to roll? Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Joining us now on the call, we have Mr. Darius McMillan. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Not dressed as nice as you are, brother. That's for sure.
We got him dressed to the nines, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm at a football banquet right now.
Hey, congratulations, first and foremost, on that. I know you guys fell a little bit short, but you had one heck of a run at it, man.
Thank you.
So that was honestly going to be my first question, man. Talk to me, about, playing football, into wrestling, how that all morphs together, why you find it important to do both, and how it helps each.
Well, they actually complement each other. So I use my wrestling and football a lot, helping with my tackling. And then also my wrestling conditioning translates to the field, making me be able to run and not get tired as easily. And then football helps me with wrestling with my aggressiveness and speed as well.
What positions are you on the football field, Darius?
Safety and running back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just
two
like
positions.
His, older brother there, bud.
Yeah,
yes,
for sure. And I think those are definitely two positions that have that direct correlation or relation to being the type of wrestler that you are. And I guess my first question coming out of the gate, and I won't get too far into what you did this past weekend, but big props to you for that, is how did you get your conditioning ready in such a quick turnaround? You weren't in the room the entire preseason. And I know that you were training for football, but let's face facts that's two different kinds of training when it comes down to a 6-minute plus match conditioning. How'd you get caught up so fast, D-Mac?
Well, my previous years, I always came into the wrestling season, all tired, and I wouldn't wrestle my best matches the first couple tournaments, but then I would get acclimated as I went on to the season. So I made sure this year, I only had like 4 practices going into this tournament. I made sure after practices I would run and jump rope and do as much as I could to get my conditioning up and make sure I was ready for the tournament.
Now, how many of your teammates come from the football team onto the wrestling team? I bet there's a number of them.
There's actually only, I think, 3, including me, are heavyweight Zach Stromock and Jackson Hardcastle as well.
Okay.
You need to pull a couple more of them boys off the squad over there, buddy. Bring them onto the mat.
Yeah, we do.
All right, so talk to me, man, about your performance at Chartier Houston. You obviously went out and won the 152-pound championship, one of the better classes in the entire tournament. You take out Case Chop on the way, Luke Boyer in the finals. Just a really good performance, and you're doing it classic Darius McMillan way, 1-0. Just really gritty, hard-nosed performances. Just talk to me about your mindset and why you were able to come out on top.
Well, my mindset going into it, I checked. My coach sent me the seeds. I was unseeded, so I had a chip on my shoulder already going into the tournament. And every match, I just came out as hard as I could and was aggressive. And yeah,
I love that. I mean, obviously, if you go out and you beat 2 guys that we expect to, do big things at the end of the year. Talk to me about how you're going to stay conditioned up, how you're going to get ready for the end of the season to, push yourself to get to, Hershey.
Well, my goal is this year definitely to get onto that podium, but definitely get to the higher half of that podium. And so I'm just going to keep putting myself in the room, and also going to Quest every Sunday to go work with Coach Jim Akerley and get acclimated and all that stuff.
Yeah, it looks
Quest
like
School
you
of
guys
Wrestling is a
certainly
sponsor, so hold on to me. I got to slip that in there. Quest School of Wrestling is a sponsor of the show. I was going to bring that up after Darius was done, but I'll bring it up right now. Thank you, Jim Agerly. You are the man. Thank you so much for sponsoring Near Falls with D Hall. I appreciate you. But yeah, Darius, obviously, you go out to Quest. I mean, what is it like to get some of those partners that you see out there?
It's actually awesome because you get to push yourself more and more, and each and every partner is different to wrestle with. So you get a little experience from each and every guy. So it makes you better. Every time I go, I get better. And that's Coach Jim saying, get 1% better each day. So
that's it. I love that. And, shout out to Jim Akerley down at Quest. You can always pick out a wrestler whenever they, you can kind of tell where they go to train. I know a lot of young wrestlers go to multiple different clubs, but you can kind of tell a wrestler by who he is really loyal to as far as his club, whether they're going to Quest or All-American or, Young Guns, wherever it may be. You can kind of pick out by the style, their attack mode, and just some of the little nuances that they do on the mat. Darius, I want to talk about the strength of schedule. I was just taking a peek at Peters Township's schedule, and it ain't no dog, man. You guys need to be strapped up, ready to rock and roll. Talk about keeping yourself within the moment, not looking too far ahead. And as one of the leaders in the room, keeping your team on the eye on the prize right in front of them.
Yeah, well, I was named a captain this year, so I have to be even more of a leader and show all the younger kids what it takes to be better. And we actually want to be a playoff team this year, which we didn't get to do last year, which we were upset about. But we're gonna keep conditioning and getting better in the room each day.
And tomorrow you have Bethel Park, then you have the Cavalier Duels this Saturday, and next week you have Baldwin. And if you're talking about team title, I mean, you're coming right out of the gate with Bethel Park and Baldwin as far as your conference competition. So, yeah, tall order in front of you to keep everybody focused on that prize. Go ahead, Donnie.
Talk to me about your coaching staff, man. You got Coach Ivanovich, you got Coach Wilkes. I know that they're both Peters Township guys. Just talk to me about what is, just hanging out with those guys every day at practice.
They're actually great because they push me a lot.
Awesome.
Derek helps me with my conditioning a lot because he knows when I'm dogging and all that other stuff. He gets on me a lot because I'll win a sprint, but I'll do a little halfway, and he'll be like, Darius, I know you can run harder than that, and he pushes me to do that. And then Ty helps me with my technique a lot and how I finish my shots and just riding on top and all that good stuff.
That's awesome, man. The last question I have for you, obviously your brother, he's right down the street at Pitt, 100 tackles back to back. What's it like looking up to a guy like that you've seen wrestle at the highest level, you've seen now playing football at the highest level in college? What's it like to look up to that? And I know that you have younger brothers, so how do you keep that tradition rolling?
Yeah, he actually motivates me a lot because I know I want to be like him and I want to be better than him. And he also pushes me too. He's like, I know you could do better than that and all this stuff. And then it also goes the same with my little brothers. I push them as hard as they can. I know when they're not doing the best. And yeah, everything's a competition between us. So that's what motivates us the most.
Mom's the ref at home, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of competition, since you all are so competitive, who's the best dressed tonight?
Oh, I'm always the best dressed. I'm always coming with the shoes and everything else.
Nice.
That's great stuff.
Well, keep up the good work from my end, man. Looking forward to seeing you progress throughout the season. Like you said, you want to keep the next match right in front of you, and you don't look too far ahead. And hopefully in February we're having some great discussions with you guys.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys so much.
Darius, you're the man. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us, brother.
Have fun at your banquet, buddy.
Yep. Thank you.
Later.
Just another great young man, just hanging out.
Seriously, buddy. I mean,
Just like his
great
brother.
family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The obviously, what Donovan's doing he speaks for itself. But his the pops is very cool, good dude. Always very, very respected, and he runs. I know he's a big part of the football program out there at Peters Township, which they're one of the best in the WPIAL year in and year out. So yeah, man, great family, good people. So very, very cool to have him on and kind of just break down his tournament, because man, there's other there's other kids in that bracket that I'm looking at. I mean, Ethan Higgins from Bethel Park was in that bracket. He lost to Boyer 1-0. He took third. I mean, he beat Case Chalk for third and fourth. So you just look at that bracket, man, was really, really solid.
It's tough.
So
yeah.
There
was nothing easy about it, and it's good to get tested early. Mm-hmm. And more props to DMAC too for he only had a few workout sessions coming off that late football playoff run. So to be able to and I think coach he put that chip on his shoulder intentionally. He's like, look, I'm not sure how the conversation went, but I think he knew that Darius wouldn't take it the wrong way as not being seeded, like, oh man, I stink. He's like, no, I am not happy about this. And I'm going to show these guys I'm not happy about it. And that's the line in the road that so many wrestlers, you're faced with that decision all the time. Whether it's a loss to someone you shouldn't have lost to, or a loss because something didn't go your way, or maybe it was a bad call. There's that why in the road. And you can either bounce back and take the correct, I can't tell you which way that is, but, take the correct route and go fix it and make yourself better and come back next time and show all those haters that you are the man.
Yeah, I can't say any better than that, Smitty. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Just, put your freaking head down and show them differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure. And just going back we'll run down the Chartiers Houston Invitational. And now that we're all done with the guests, we're just chilling, Smitty. We're hanging out like we always do, buddy. I don't know. Well, we have 2-hour long conversation the other night. But yeah, man, this is, looking at, so I always like looking at the Chartiers Houston Invitational early in the year just to see like where some of the freshmen are, especially at the lower weights. So like 107, you got Anthony Jones from Shaler. I mean, you want to talk about a performance? He went pin, tech fall, pin. Both pins were in the first period. Both pins were under 2 minutes. So my man is, buzzsaw early. Shaler, a program that has been down the last few years. Would love to see them get a couple nice wrestlers back. They had a good moment there whenever my brother was in high school. I want to say like 14. With some of the kids that went to OMP, the Hano brothers and things of that nature. But yeah, man, Jake Hartman, another one, of course. But good to see that. Jefferson Morgan, Braden Hanning took second. Caden Braun from Freedom took third. Gio Polito from North Hills, I'm sure I butchered that. I'm sorry, buddy. Took fourth. Carson Halleck from Bradford took fifth. And Michael Piero from North Catholic took sixth. So that's a nice little round out. I know that
it's a nice mix of double A, triple A too, G Hall. If you take a look at the top 10, I mean, there's Freedom. I believe Freedom's still double A, right?
Yep.
And then QV, the Quaker Valley High School.
They're double.
Best Center. Burgettstown is up in there, J Morg. So you've got a nice mix of healthy double A, triple A. And that's always kind of a great conversation a lot of people will have. It actually turns into heated debates. And I think the biggest thing between double A and triple A, in my opinion, is just surely the depth.
Yep.
They don't have the lineups like a Canamac or a Norwin or Bethel Park, Connellsville, where they have, a guy goes down, boom, they've got a guy ready to go. So, but that doesn't mean that their top dog in double A can't go with the top dog in triple A by any stretch of anybody's imagination.
100%. Yeah. I mean, they got, you look at some of the good teams in double A and this year, especially, statewide, some of the traditional teams that were wrestling up into triple A have moved down into double A. So just, creating more of a logjam. I mean, of course, McCord is still double A. I mean, there's some really, really ridiculous schools
Erie Cathedral Prep dropping
Yep.
down.
Yep,
Catholic
exactly.
dropping down. So yeah, and it's gonna continue to mix up like that every couple of years whenever they come out and do their census. But I think more so in wrestling, you see more schools that elect to stay up. You know, you think of somebody like Waynesburg High School. They've been a double-A school forever, but they've always chosen to wrestle up, and they compete.
I call them the Aliquippa of wrestling.
There you go. I like that.
Yep, that's what I call them. I mean, for years, you know, it's just they have that tradition, that grittiness, that coal miner. You know what I mean? They just reproduce good wrestlers in and out. The families, and they all wrestle. And they're all freaking tough. How many Headleys have came through that program? You know what I mean?
Probably still more to come.
I'm sure. You know what I mean? So it's just. They're in a little bit of a down period right now, but yeah, they're the obvious choice in that. But yeah, I mean, you go up to 114 pounds, and this is another weight class. Now, Nick McGarity from Peters Township, he is he's one of those dudes that's just kind of on a different level. He had a fantastic year last year. I was interested to see if he kept it going into this season, and of course he did. He went tech fall, pin, tech fall. Well, pretty much a tech fall. He's up 13-0 and then pin. And then he won 8-0 in the final. So honestly, for me, it wasn't a surprise that McGarity won. The big thing of this bracket in particular was the lower half, where we saw the bottom quarter. I actually got a text. I'll shout out to Mr. Alex Moses over at Burrow. He's like, listen, the 114-pound match in the bottom quarter there, the Peyton Bubash and Preston Bubash, and Bruce Anderchuk. That might be the WPIAL final. I'm like, all right, lock in. So I went out and watched that, and man, dogfight. Anderchuk came out on top, 3-2. Very, very close match. But Bubash comes back and takes third. Bubash is a guy that Smitty we saw at the junior high finals last year.
Yeah,
just one of
Southwest
those.
Classic.
Yes. So just one of those tough kids. And Elizabeth Ford, sneaky nice team.
They are. Yeah, they're one you have to watch out for. We've had the opportunity to cover them whenever we, sometimes Southmoreland will host the AA team section tournament early on, and we've had the opportunity to cover those guys, and you need to watch out for them.
Yep.
It's like every year they've got people ready to rock and roll.
And so moving up to 121 pounds, and this is kind of where we're going to get into the Bethel Park discussion. You look at Pierce Reinhardt goes out and wins the championship at 121 pounds, pretty much from an unseated position. He was one of those kids that Coach Nauman has told me about, could make that run, that jump. Looks like he was a 4 seed, if I'm looking at this correctly. But man, just impressive stuff. He went pin, decision over Kazanovic from Avonworth, who we saw at the Allegheny County tournament last year do really nice things. He was another nice wrestler in this bracket, but ultimately Reinhardt to go out and win this was impressive stuff, in which kind of starts the wave that is the Bethel Park had at this tournament. They they went out and beat Butler. Just impressive stuff.
Yeah, Butler's another school that you always have to keep in conversation.
Yep.
When you're talking end of the year. Come look at some of these other champions.
Yeah, and
find the whole. I see.
You have to go to Flow Wrestling. Here's, buddy. I'm going to send you the.
All right, that's the easiest way. Okay, yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that. I was on PA.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, that's the best way to do it, to look at the whole bracket of the Flow. But Bethel Park, it's just they're getting these guys that Nauman takes and their coaching staff takes, and all of a sudden, they have this culture, and it's really starting to grow. I mean, it started last year, and it's going to continue in this year. And they're another one of those teams. They go out and win the Chartiers Houston tournament. They're another one of those teams that we're definitely going to look at the end of the year. I think for the chance to go to Hershey, and that's what we've been talking about, Smitty. There's like 7, 8 teams that we could see potentially, make that trip over to the AHN Arena in Peters Township, and then ultimately move on to Hershey. But man,
on Earth. That's right.
Yeah, man, and I love just how many teams are in it this year, just like it has been in the past couple of years. But all right, so moving down the list, right, 127 pounds, Sloboda from Butler continues his reign. He's been fantastic, throughout his course of his career. You know, dominates his way to the finals. Tech fall in the finals over another Bethel Park wrestler in Colton Fisher, who had a fantastic run to get to the finals. So, another Bethel Park wrestler. So that's 2 in a row there, placing very high. But yeah, Sloboda, very, very tough wrestler there for Butler. And, I believe he committed to Pitt. So just going to continue to watch him do big things.
I believe you're correct. I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah. All right.
3 best center getting in the mix.
Yes, Mason Wright. And, Best Center is one of those teams in Double A, Smitty, that some people are putting on like their sleeper list. And, I love that. There might not even be a sleeper. There might just be that damn good. I mean, they're one of those teams that are going to be there at the end of the year. And Bethel Park, Seth Miller takes first, another one of those guys. But 2 Shaler guys, 3rd and 4th. You love to see that.
For sure. Yeah, it's good to see the Titans back in. It's been a while. I want to take you way back. Gosh, I think since the Nelson twins were there back in the early 2000s is really the last time that they were ever really competitive as a team. So it's good to see, them getting it turned around and starting to, pull some medals out on tournaments at this level. And this is where they need to be starting. But if they continue this trend, I mean, keep an eye out for them. Maybe the next thing we'll get to see them at a Powerade.
Yeah, and we're not talking about, Charters Houston is not a small tournament by any means. I mean, you look at this bracket here at 133 pounds, I believe there's like 30,
I think there's 30 teams,
32 teams, 32 kids in this bracket. I know there's a couple, but man, this bracket is loaded, and to have 2 guys, to have 2 guys finish in the top 4, you gotta love that for Shaler, and I'm sure both those guys are gonna find their way to different weight classes throughout the year. But yeah, man, I love to see that. So in those, just give him a little love there. Jonah Cable from Shaler and Aiden Tavella from Shaler. So 2 good stuff there. Okay, 139 pounds. We see our first plum wrestler get on the championship podium there, Mr. Owen Campbell, a guy that we've watched kind of make strides. And, here he is. Winning the Charters Houston Championship over some pretty good wrestlers, man. Jacob Chacon of Montour's no slouch, and then Aiden Stout, another Bethel Park wrestler in the finals.
2 big wins right there.
Yep.
And, he's major decision, both of them. Yep. So this is a man that's definitely, it looks like he's taking advantage of, I wish I could see a box score, but he's either taking people down or he's running back points.
So it looks like in the finals, he got a takedown, 4 near falls, a reversal, and then another takedown.
You can see the box score. Look
yes,
at you.
Sir.
I see it.
Yep. So yeah, you click on the result there, and that's like you look at that, and he's a
little mixed. Yep.
Yeah, man. He's got a bunch of different ways he scores, which is how you win championships. All right, 145 pounds. We're almost halfway through. We look at the championship here. We see Matt Dana of Quaker Valley over Dustin Kerr. Hampton. Talon Mazenko takes 3rd for South Fayette. Ian Buscelli from Bethel Park takes 4th. Leo Larapino from Butler takes 5th. And Thomas Henry from Freedom takes 6th. This weight class, man, you look at Matt Dana coming out of, I believe, the 4 seed. Quarterfinals on, he goes Tech, he goes major, and then he goes major in the finals. Just a guy that's continued to improve the last few years. Could this be a breakout year? It's very possible. And the guys he beat, I mean, Mazenko's very tough for South Fayette. He was the 1 seed. He beat him 10-2. And then he beat Dustin Kerr from Hampton, who we saw do big things at the Allegheny County tournament. So yeah, three nice guys for the Allegheny County. 4 of the top 4 there are all in the Allegheny County. So I'm sure we'll see that breakdown again here in a couple weeks. All right. 152 pounds. We just talked to the champion. Go back and watch that, Mr. Darius McMillan. And man, his run was impressive to the finals. 3 straight 1-point decisions. 8-7 over Mr. Trent Reese from Plum. And then he beats Case Chop 1-0. And he beats Luke Boyer 1-0 in the final. So good stuff for Mr. Darius McMillan. And like I said, Ethan Higgins was also in this bracket. Ethan Higgins, another one of those guys. I know he's third down there on the list, but if we looked up Saturday night at Cannon Mac, I would not be surprised to see Ethan Higgins wrestling for a chance to go to the state tournament or already secured his spot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big Ethan Higgins fan. I think he's going to do good things this year. So, but yeah, Luke Boyer, another one of those Elizabeth Forward guys that we talked about. Sneaky good there, Smith. Okay.
Oops, sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, 160 now.
160 pounds now. We got Rook Smith of Montour taking home the championship over Cole Gibbons. Jordan Thompson from Bradford takes third. Luke Dunlap from South Fayette takes fourth. Gavin McRae from Freedom takes sixth. Gavin Rush from Butler takes fifth and sixth. Sorry. For me, to watch Rook Smith go out and beat some of these dudes on his way to the finals, he's going to be a problem. I mean, he's athletic as hell. He gets to legs very easily. He gets a lot of takedowns. So, yeah, he's going to be a problem over there for the Montour Spartans. Goes out and beats the 1 seed Thompson from Bradford 3-1. And then I was interested to see what that matchup with Cole Gibbons of Mount Lebanon would look like. And to be quite frank, he kind of torched him. So It was impressive to watch that match in particular. So yeah, I think Rook Smith is going to be problems. All right, a couple more left, Smitty. 172 pounds. We got Carter Morvay from North Hills takes home first. Marcus Ritchie from Quaker Valley takes second. Julian Sepalak from Plum takes third. Parker Nev from Peters Township takes fourth. Devin McCauley from Mount Lebanon takes fourth. And Joseph Zatola from Mars takes home sixth. Yeah. Zatola. So
Morvay had his way all the way through the 20.
Wow, right? Impressive stuff, man. And
he scores a lot of points. You can tell he's Jones trained, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. There's no doubt about it. He goes tech fall, he goes pin, he goes tech fall. And then, the match that, I'm watching this kid make his run through the bracket, and I'm like, all right, Parker name's a known name, you know what I mean? He's been there, done that, top 8 in the WPIAL kind of guy. And he just has his way with him 16-4, and then follows it up with a amazing performance in the finals, 19-3.
Yeah, all the way from the 5 seed too. So that's
just
classic example of not giving a darn where you rank. Going out and wrestling the next guy in front of you, and he finds himself on top after, he throws points up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 189 pounds. Slayton Williams from Southside takes home first. Jameer Lindsay from Carlington takes home second. Malachi Peak from Best Center takes home third. Zayshawn Williams from Freedom takes fourth. Logan Glock from Hampton takes home fifth. And Troy Ritson from Butler takes home sixth. 189 pounds. We're getting into the bigger boys. I remember watching Mr. Lindsay at, I believe it was Burgettstown last year. Burgettstown last year. So he is solid. Slayton Williams, going watching his performance, goes out and puts up another guy who just puts up another bunch of points. His toughest match came in the quarterfinals against Christian Harris of North Hills. Man, North Hills, sneaky good squad there, Smitty.
Yeah,
not even sneaky. I mean, they took third. Not even sneaky. They're solid. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Look for big things.
Yeah.
From Coach Jones and the Indians up there now, because he's the head coach now, correct? I
believe so. Yeah, because the old head coach was, I believe he's a women's coach or a D2 coach somewhere close, or a women's coach. I just saw that.
It is a women's team coach.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's awesome that he went on to, help with that development and growth from the women's side of things too. I mean, he put the program in damn good hands in Virtus, so it's not like he had to really think hard to leave.
Yeah, no doubt about it. If you're going to pass it to someone, not a bad name to pass it to.
It's not at all.
Okay.
Man, light heavies.
Yes, light heavies. And this is a guy that we saw at the junior high final last year, Smitty, Brennan
Yeah.
Briesinger. He's only a freshman, dude. He
Brysinger,
is
yeah.
Briesinger. He's damn good. And
Pin, tech fall.
yes, against grown men. You know what I mean? And he wrestles
Yeah,
like a lightweight.
215. Yeah.
He's good, man. He's really, really good. And the next, like they've had those guys at Quaker Valley, the bigger guys, the Patrick Cutchembers, and some of these bigger guys that have came through their program that have been really solid. And he's the next guy for sure. And he could be. I've had conversations with Austin Heinel, the head coach. I mean, he could be one of the best to ever do it at Quaker Valley. So we will see on him. Okay.
And Hunter Goals was runner-up, Bethel Park. Trevor Signetti, again, another Shaler Titan. Good to see that. Homer Headley. The Headleys just never go away. I'm sure it's some sort of a relation to the Headley Corona best winner. Ace McElravy out of Butler. And then rounding out the top 6 is Albert Gallatin's Colin Rockwell.
Yeah. And I love that. Definitely got to have some relation. You know that.
For sure.
Colin White, West Green, goes home and takes the championship over there at Chartiers Houston at 285 pounds over Ben Lloyd. Ben Lloyd's a guy that we've watched do big things in the past. Colin White, impressive stuff for the West Green. What are they? The Pioneers out there, Smitty? Am I right?
Oh, good golly.
Where is Flick when we need him?
Let me text him real quick. Let's see if we can get him sign off.
It is. It's the Pioneers. I got it.
Is it okay? Let me see if he knows it, though.
Yeah, text him. That's a good one. But yeah, so the Pioneer goes out and gets the championship there. Impressive stuff. There, and Ben Lloyd's another guy, like I said, we've seen him do big things in Mount Lebanon. Another good team there in the Allegheny County. Just one of those great depth teams, as always, there for the WPIAL. All right. That rounds out. That was the Chartiers Houston tournament. Like I said, the big things for me, some of the freshmen that have came in and made waves. Some of the bigger freshmen, really, that came in and made waves in dominant fashion. So
we used to take our Shady Side team there. When I first got to Shady Side with Coach Gill back in the early 2000s, that was the tournament of choice that we went to for around Christmas, and then we gradually graduated to like the Powerades and eventually to Ironman. Which, gosh, that's just a nightmare of a tournament out there. A whole different conversation for another night, man. What an awesome show that was again this year out there. But Chartiers Houston, they put on a great show. It's packed in those two gyms, and then they bring it down on the final day to just the main gym. But it's quite the environment and really nice job by what they do down there to provide 30 teams with a nice little place to go in there and grind it out with a lot of people you're going to see throughout the season. So kudos to them.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I kind of call it like the lightweight or the light version of Powerade. Frank runs that with his buddies, right? And it's just like you can set your clock to it. 11 a.m. is the semifinals on Saturday. Like they're out at the same time. Like be hitting the casino at whatever time after the finals are done. You know what I mean? You can set your clock to it. So
it's like the South Florida Christmas Classic has evolved into a nice little Christmas tournament. Not quite the caliber. I mean, let's be honest, it's not the caliber of Powerade, but it's a nice little tournament they have over there.
Oh, fantastic tournament too. No, they do fantastic tournament.
Tomorrow night, man, I'll have Derry Greater Latrobe out at Greater Latrobe. So looking forward to that little AA, AAA crossover. We just got lineups from both of those teams, so we'll have our prep work to do. But I'm looking forward to that one. Coach Dolan's doing a great job over there at Derry, bringing that program back. His junior high is made up of a bunch of little monsters that wait for them to start storming the high school stage.
Oh, 100%. And they wrestled kind of out of the WPIAL. It was interesting to see a lot of, there's some of these schools, of course, they went to the traditional route of the Chartiers Houston, but a lot of schools went out and kind of went away, like the North Coast Classic, Baldwin, Bell Vernon, Ringgold went out there. There's just so many tournaments. The Top Hat Memorial, which, that could be the next thing that we go into. They went out and won that tournament. I mean,
Yeah.
They go out and beat teams like Central Mountain. They beat teams like Easton. It's
And
impressive.
it was a grind finish too. It wasn't a blowout.
No.
They had to wrestle that one all the way through to the Falcons. And, like you were talking about Derry, they went to the Babbitt Duels.
That's where I was getting down to. And they did well. They only had one loss, and it was tight to Penns Valley.
Yes. So looking forward to a good one tomorrow night. And then, of course, next Saturday, we'll have the Kiski area Burl duels over at Kiski, which that's always going to be a good one. And they're doing a nice job with some junior Olympic wrestling, the women's wrestling, and then the varsity match at 2:00. So little pre-Christmas Eve, if you will, wrestling. I know I got to go play Santa that night. So as soon as I get out of there, I got to fly over to my family's Christmas Eve party. I don't know why we have it on Saturday, but we do. And then my dad will help me get all dressed up as Santa Claus for all my little cousins and newcomers that are joining the family.
I love that.
So, but it's been awesome joining you here tonight, bro. I love that little opening again.
Yes. Yeah, man. No, it's good. I appreciate you coming on and coming out of the bullpen for me and, doing the thing and hanging out, It's
awesome, brother. I love you. It's always fun. We have great conversations. There's no lie, folks, when I say we talk till like 3, 4 in the morning. Yeah, it is as true as it gets. Chris, like, what are you doing out in your truck? And I'm like, just talking to D Hall. What else?
Yeah, I'm on that midnight shift, man. I'm always down. It's just there's so much stuff to break down and to get into. You know what I mean? It's just so much fun.
There'll be a lot more coming up too, brother.
Yep. All right, Smitty, you got to get going. I got a couple more things I want to talk about, so I'll leave you go, my friend.
All right, brother. Love you. Later. See you, everybody.
Much love. Later, buddy. All right, and that was my dude, Smitty. So much love for having him on and coming out of the bullpen and hanging out with me. But, man, I got so much more stuff to talk about. There's so much that happened across the WPIAL. The other tournament that we got to get into is, watching Connellsville going out and do what they did out there with some of the teams they did. It's just impressive work. It's like we talked about with Coach Levy. I mean, they're going to be problems. For me, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the WPIAL. They're just they're loaded from top to bottom. And believe that Upson said it best on his show, War Up on the WPIAL, and you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. And then he does a great explanation on the qualification process and all that. But just every single one of their guys at Connellsville, they're very solid, very good, very solid, and they're always deep, right? And it's just typical Connellsville stuff. So they're going to be very good. But there's, they went out and won that championship over teams like Easton and Central Mountain and things of that nature. So impressive stuff for them. But the other tournament that, a couple other tournaments that we got to talk about, Penn Trafford and Latrobe went up north to the Hickory Invitational Tournament. Each of these teams have some really, really good kids. I mean, both teams finished in the top 5, correct? I mean, both very, very solid teams. But at 107 pounds, this Kai Maxwell, I watched him all tournament. He is a dog. He is very, very impressive, fast, gets the legs really well, scores a shit ton of points. So I was impressed to watch him. Luke Willishell did his thing. Hunter Snyder did his thing. Over Tassel Whipple, I was kind of interested to see how that would go. Tassel Whipple, one of my favorite dudes in the WPIAL, 189 pounds. But Snyder, the young sophomore, kind of gave him the business. Very impressive. And Hunter Snyder is one of those guys that we've been hearing about for years coming out of Latrobe. He's certainly, for me, has lived up to the expectations. He's very, very impressive. Can score a bunch of different ways. He's long. And he keeps really, really good position, which is how you win a lot of matches in high school. So impressive stuff there. And Marco Scarton takes second for the Latrobe Wildcats. So very cool stuff there to see that. Just good stuff all the way around for the Latrobe Wildcats there at the Hickory Invitational. But Penn Trafford also, like I said, a little bit there with Tassel Whipple, but they have some of the better guys. I love watching Squirrel, Dylan Barrett Russell. He is fantastic. he had a great tournament, as well as Tassel Whipple. I'm missing one more. I'm waiting for my site to load, but just impressive stuff there for those two teams to go up there to Hickory up there in Hermitage, PA, and put on a show. Very happy with that. But so with that being said, the last couple things, I mean, you look at some like the North Coast Classic, and I knew that there was a lot of teams that go to that tournament. So that was cool to see Baldwin go out there. And I believe Ramil Islamov took first out there. So just impressed to see all the WPIAL, see what they did across the different states, Ohio, West Virginia, of course here in PA. So just impressive night for the WPIAL, impressive weekend rather. That was the WPIAL schedule. So going back into it, let's see here. In the North Coast Classic, we had Baldwin take 21st, Bell Vernon took 4th, and Ringgold took 3rd. I mean, Bell Vernon's another team, man. They're another team that we gotta talk about. They're very, very good. They have some really good individual wrestlers. I talked to Coach Bev on the preview show. Go back and watch that if you haven't seen it. Really impressive to see them do their thing here. So going down this in the championship finals, we had Grayson. Oh boy, that's a good one. Cuglugmio from Bell Vernon. He took 2nd there in the finals. Didon Soto took 1st. He won by tech fall. Ramil Islamov took 1st. He had a 9-3 decision in the finals. Lothar from Ringgold took 2nd. Owen Conroy took 2nd to Elijah Brown. Elijah Brown, that's one of those dudes that we're going to watch as we get going here. He's going to be problems. I'm excited to watch what he does. Cole Doppelhauer, another guy for Bell Vernon that we need to keep our eyes on. We need to keep our ears open for. And, of course, routing out the WPIAL here is Jake Conroy, who is just continues to just put it on, dudes. I mean, he is impressive as they come. Just pins a lot of people. Strong. So I expect him to continue to do what he does. And it certainly started this weekend at the North Coast Classic for him. But the Babbitt Duels we talked about, 25-26 was the only loss for Derry. Very, very, very close to see what happened there. The Carrick Duels, just some slower end teams in some Pittsburgh City League schools. But really the thing to notice there is that South Park kind of dominated that. They took home first. They won every single match. So that was impressive to see them do their thing. I know at the Union local tournament, Waynesburg and I believe Elwood City was there. So it was cool to see that matchup or to see those couple schools there. Gabe Lilly took home first on 165 pounds, taking out Brock Evans in a 9-2 decision. Of course, Gabe Lilly is one of the Gladiator kids up there. He's doing big things at Elwood City. Jacob Stevenson took home first at 190 pounds for Waynesburg, and Roan Tustin. Interesting note here, he's down to 215 pounds. He took home the championship there at 215 pounds. So just some names to keep a note there. Lily, a double-A guy, but the other two guys are triple-A guys. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got, man. There's so much to talk about as far as this weekend goes. And, there's dual tournaments across the way. I believe it is Hampton Dog Duels weekend. So we'll love to go over there. That's one of my favorite ones to go check out. I believe it is Kiski Duels weekend. So that's another one that you love to see. So Panther Holiday Classic, Trinity goes out there, Seneca Valley goes out there. That's out at Mount Aloysius College. But yeah, this is dual weekends coming up. I love this weekend because see these teams put on a bunch of matches and see kind of how these coaches want to finagle their lineups and, based on different matchups. But, you got the Ringgold Doles, the Hampton Doles. There's a Point Pleasant Doles, which is down in West Virginia. Franklin Regional is going down there, like we just talked about with Coach Levy. The Kiski Doles, the Moon Doles, the North Hills Doles, and the Upper St. Clair Doles, all within the WPIAL. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dole tournaments in the WPIAL this weekend, this Saturday, and you just love to see those teams get after it and get action. And again, the Dole tournaments are great, man, because you get all your kids get some matches. They get multiple matches. You see where your team's at. So it is all good things there. Let's see what else I got to talk about. Said Mount Aloysius. It's good stuff there. Some Doles that we're going to see tomorrow night. Hampton at Fox Chapel. That's an interesting one. I want to see how that goes. Pierce Township Bethel Park. That could be sneaky. We just talked about Darius McMillan. We'll see what happens there. Bethel Park is very, very good, though. Derry Latrobe, of course, Smitty was just talking about that there. Penn Trafford Plum is going to be a good match. North Hills, North Allegheny is going to be a good match. So there's, a lot of good tournaments or good matchups for the WPIAL there tomorrow. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything before I sign off with you guys. But, man, we've been on for a little over an hour and 15 minutes hanging out with me, BSing with a couple different guys. Smitty coming on, of course. Really appreciate that. That was great. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Laurel had a good weekend. I know I did see that. Let's see. I think that was up in Greenville. Yes, Laurel had a great weekend up in Greenville. They were 6-0. I did see that. I wanted to note this. Beating some teams like Armstrong. Fraser was up there. They had a decent weekend, 3-2. Greenville is usually a traditional good school up there. Sagertown was up there. So Sharpsville. So yeah, some good schools up there. I believe it's District 9, District 10 up there. So that was up at Greensville High School, the Sheets Kickoff Classic. So a lot of good wrestling across the WPIAL this weekend. A lot of good stories to cover, and it's already taking shape. The team, the individuals, it's already starting to morph into what we are going to see at the end of the year. I see some of you guys commenting on the side there on the YouTube page. I appreciate that. Mr. Lewis, Mr. Banco, I love both you boys. Mr. Lewis, I watched you do some incredible stuff last year at the junior high invitational. So I saw you had a nice weekend as well at the Carrick Doles. So yeah, just keep doing your thing. Mr. Banco, my man, appreciate you. Keep doing your thing down there at Texas A&M. But for that, I think that is all I have for you guys. Again, the sponsors, I appreciate my 3 sponsors. Swiss Custom Apparel, as always, my main man, Chris Cars. That's my dude. He's with me pretty much since day one. I love that dude. I appreciate him. New sponsors this year, Quest School of Wrestling, Mr. Jim Akerley. He's doing big things, of course, as always. But he's got a running mate this year in Connor Schramm. And Connor Schramm, of course, one of the best to ever strap it up for Kenny McMillan. Just so good in that early 2010 range. Was part of that Canada championship team. Just ridiculously good stuff. So he's there helping as well. But yeah, so love the support, and of course my last sponsor, which I got to get some video files, and I'm gonna do a little commercial for him. But Smitty's Carpet Corners, my main man, not to be confused with Smitty, who we just had on, but Smitty's Carpet Corners out of Steubenville, Ohio. If you're at a tournament, which you will be at more than likely this weekend, just check the corners. If you see a red and or gray corner mat, that is Smitty's Carpet Corner. And I believe he just had it on Instagram, but nothing else to say, but it is a classy event when you see a Smitty's Carpet Corner. So thank you guys for supporting me. I appreciate it. And, we'll keep pumping these out every week. We'll keep, bringing different people on, different coaches, different college wrestlers as the college season heats up. But, as always, we've been going for about an hour and 20. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. The first episode of Near Falls in the WPIAL is down. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.